I never thought my family would become a living nightmare. The day I announced my obsession with occult infestation taxonomy, I could almost hear the collective gasp from my relatives. "You're going to disgrace us," my mother hissed, her face twisted in a mask of disbelief. "You're losing your mind." My father, a man of numbers and logic, scoffed so loudly that it echoed like a gunshot in our small living room. Each word they hurled felt like a dagger, piercing my resolve. But I pressed on, driven by the haunting specters of the vermin I had seen, creatures so unnatural they defied explanation. It all began after my public ousting from the pest control industry. I had reported an infestation in a wealthy client's mansion, an infestation that was far from ordinary. The rodents I found were not just pests, they were conduits, manifestations of something far darker. I was labeled a lunatic. Brother mocked, slapping his knee. "More like a madman." That echoed in my ears as I left home, embarking on a solitary journey into the decaying remnants of forgotten buildings, where the air was thick with the weight of despair and insanity. Years passed, each one filled with the oppressive silence of isolation. I immersed myself in the study of the bizarre vermin behaviors I cataloged in condemned structures, collecting every scrap of data I could find. I became a ghost, haunting the spaces others dared not enter. I witnessed things that twisted my perception of reality, a hive mind of vermin that communicated in ways I couldn't explain. Each night, I felt their presence surrounding me, whispering secrets of the dark. And then, as if the universe finally decided to take notice, I stumbled upon the truth. It was in an abandoned church, its once majestic spires, now mere shadows of their former glory. I uncovered a network of occult infestations that extended far beyond the confines of the city, a malignant force that thrived on fear and desperation. I documented every horrifying detail, my findings eventually garnering attention. I went from being an embarrassing family member to a renowned expert, the kind of person who could expose the horrors lurking just beneath the surface. But with recognition came a chilling reality. I was no longer just a researcher. I was a warning. The knowledge I had gained became a burden, a weight that pressed down on me like a leaden shroud. I had seen the darkness, and it had changed me irrevocably. When I finally returned home, the house felt like a tomb. My family stood before me, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. They had heard the whispers, the rumors of what I had uncovered, yet it was the look in their eyes that struck me most, a cocktail of fear and regret. They had mocked me for years, and now they were faced with the very real specter of what I had become. "Look at you," my mother whispered, her voice trembling. "You're different." "Different?" I echoed, my voice low and gravelly. "I've seen things you can't even imagine." I stepped closer, and they instinctively recoiled. "I've survived what you all thought was a delusion, what you dismissed as insanity." That's when it happened. A skittering sound from the shadows, a rustling that sent chills through the air. My family's eyes widened, their breath hitching in their throats. "What is that?" my father asked, his bravado evaporating like mist under the midday sun. I smiled, a grim, knowing smile. "You wanted to see the truth? You wanted proof?" I gestured toward the darkness of the hallway, and the vermin emerged, a writhing mass of fur and sinew. They moved as one, an undulating tide of eyes and teeth, almost sentient in their approach. "Stay back!" my brother shouted, his voice cracking. But it was too late. The creatures swarmed, scaring over the floorboards, their tiny claws clicking like sinister applause. I had spent years cataloging their behaviors, understanding their hive mind, and now I was their conduit. They were drawn to me, the dark knowledge radiating off me like a beacon. I felt their energy coursing through me, a connection forged in dread. "They're just animals," my mother screamed, but the terror in her voice betrayed her. "Not just animals," I replied coldly. "They are the manifestation of everything you refuse to believe. This is your legacy, the consequence of your ridicule." The vermin paused, as if waiting for my command, and in that moment I felt a surge of power. I had become what they feared, a harbinger of the darkness they had dismissed. I turned to face my family, their faces pale as they realized the implications of my transformation. The mocking laughter faded, replaced by a silence so thick it felt suffocating. I leaned closer, whispering into the chaos. "You wanted to know the truth? You're living it now." The creatures surged forward, enveloping my family in a writhing mass of terror. Their screams echoed in the house, a cacophony of panic and despair. But I stood unmoving, a sentinel of the darkness I had embraced. As I watched the horror unfold, a chilling realization washed over me. Their disbelief had become their undoing. The very thing they had ridiculed had returned to haunt them, and I was no longer the disgrace they had once thought I was. I was their reckoning. In the end, I walked away, leaving them to the shadows they had chosen to ignore. The house fell silent, save for the faint rustle of vermin retreating into the darkness. I stepped out into the night, the weight of my knowledge heavy upon me, but I felt a sense of liberation. I had survived the horrors that others could never face. I had become the truth they could no longer deny. And as I walked away, I could almost hear their cries echoing behind me, a haunting reminder of the cost of disbelief. The darkness was now my crown, and I would wear it with pride, a reminder of what it meant to uncover the unspeakable.